So this is our project on supporting the transition of primary to secondary school for first year students. So why we chose this topic? We landed on this topic as it is an annual event that we will experience every September in our teaching careers. It's a big milestone in each student's education, and it is the best that every student is wise to the tips and tricks to help the transition. We are fresh out of our second placement, and we all have our own observations surrounding the first year transition into secondary school. So firstly, my observations was the importance of learning students' names, a very simple thing but often overlooked by some teachers. Beyond identification, when you call a student by the name, it shows your commitment and effort you are making towards their students. I remember from my own time in school as a student, one teacher had my name after a week and another didn't have it till after Christmas. It starts the student-teacher relationship off well and starts to build trust. So another observation I had was the involvement of sports and clubs. So on my placement I coached the under-15 boys football team. I also sat in with the debating club. It is an excellent means of students from different areas around the secondary school to come together and share their skills on the pitch. Even the social aspect alone is brilliant for the students to experience. Also, teachers need to make a big effort to get first years involved in these extracurricular activities. So that's students who may not be pushed, you have to get them up and get them togged and get them out for their first training session so they can get out and enjoy, and the social aspect with all their friends. Some motivation. With first years entering a new school, they could all do with a confidence boost to let them know they're doing well. When I was teaching in my last placement, I always aimed to be as encouraging to first years as I could. No one likes being given out to, and all students like a confidence boost to get their heads up. So going forward as teachers, from my findings, I says don't overlook learning student names. It's a big thing for them. Use name cards, icebreakers, or even look at their name when calling the roll, just to help put a name to a face. If coaching a team or the organizer of a club, try to get as many first years to join as possible. A compliment on the motivation side, compliment your first years a lot, and it will help them be more confident in class. If constructive criticism is necessary, follow it up with something the student done well. It's all about making these students feel comfortable in their new surroundings.
So what I observed during my final year placement was when working with a first year group, I became aware quite quickly of the huge change of environment they were experiencing. I noticed my first year students had anxiety towards not only where they were for each of their lessons, but also their seating within those lessons. This was especially evident in the subject I was teaching them, which was science, where lessons are in labs and classrooms depending on what day of the week it was. These students were coming from much smaller schools and year groups. These could range from rural primary schools where there might be 10 in their class group to town primary schools with up to 30 in their class group. This is a big difference to over 100 students in their year group. Their whole experience with education had changed from what they knew. So when researching previous literature on this topic, a few main ideas came up. So support from schools was hugely important in the transition for students from primary to secondary school. An example of how schools can support their students is by organising orientation or taster days during the summer, perhaps, where students spend a few days in school and they get to meet their classmates and teachers and get familiar with the school grounds. The first term was said to be very vital in a student's transition from primary to secondary school. Research found that 88% of students reported to be settled midway through the first term of secondary school. However, by the end of the first term, 1 in 10 children were not enjoying the transfer. Care from teachers is also a huge aspect. Students who feel supported by teachers are found to have a positive motivational orientation to schoolwork and to experience positive social and emotional well-being. A teacher's ability to provide support to their students is a crucial element for better learning, especially at such a crucial time. Awareness of both the primary and secondary curriculum can often be overlooked. The expectations of first-year students by teachers can sometimes be less than related. McGee found that students experience less workload than they had anticipated. This indicates the lack of understanding between the primary and secondary curriculums of both primary and secondary teachers. Experience and achievements at primary school level can often be disregarded at secondary. Having friends is also important in all walks of life, especially during the transition in first year. Having friends is usually helpful for the security of walking into different rooms as well as who to sit next to. When a student moves to secondary school with some known friends, knows older students, or has a sibling at the same school, some of the anxiety about making friends is reduced. So going forward as a teacher, I believe being aware of your audience is really important. So teachers most often have busy timetables where they could be coming from a 6th-year lesson, for example, and going straight to a 1st-year lesson after. It's important for teachers to be aware and conscious of the change in audience, especially when going into a group of 1st years. I also believe taster days organised by the school are really important for helping the transition. Each school should have an allocated transition programme for their incoming 1st years. The school I taught in my final year placement conducted a summer camp each year for incoming students. This gave students a chance to make friends, get to know their teachers and experience subjects that they might do in 1st year, and also get a good feel for the grounds of the school in a positive, informal environment. It's crucial for teachers to remember that the first few weeks of a 1st-year student's secondary school experience are vital towards their development throughout secondary school. Teachers must be conscious and supportive during this period. By providing a helpful hand and a friendly face, this can make all the difference. Teachers must make time and effort to assist incoming 1st years in what is a totally foreign environment for them. Making time at the beginning of the term to assist students in organising their school copies and books, their classroom and even their lockers will hugely benefit students in their transition. For subjects like science, where students are likely to be in different rooms depending on their timetable, teachers must be conscious of students' lack of awareness to their surroundings, guiding students around the school to help them not only how to get to the science lab, but also to understand the big school building itself. If one of them is unaware, it's likely they all are. And finally, I believe allocation of seats will also help ease the stress of the transition from primary school. So while some 1st-year students will know others when starting in secondary school, many may have no friends to cling to at such a daunting time. By making a seating plan, this eases all students' stress. It allows students that don't have friends yet to make some, and allows other students to get to know more students than just their own friends. Also, by teachers having a good understanding of the primary school curriculum, their expectations of the incoming 1st-year students should be correct. This will ease the transition for both teachers and students and will assist in overall progress and the development of the students also. Okay, so I picked organisation for a transition from primary school to secondary school. So during placement, I could see an immediate difference between 1st year and 2nd years when coming to class. The 1st years always had excuses for forgetting things for class, such as copies and experiment books, or not having items in class, which slowed down the whole class, and you had to kind of give out to them. It's important to teachers to understand that this transition and the emphasis, the importance of organisation in ensuring a successful transition and the academic achievement of secondary school. Okay, so here are some pieces of literature that I found on the emphasis of being organised within the classroom. So Winston and Marshall, 1984, claimed that teachers' behaviour communicates their achievement expectations to their students and influences students' own expectations and achievements. So it's important to set high expectations that need to be met in classroom, such as setting expectations for homework and how it's to be done. So students want their teachers to be able to believe that they can do good work and to demand it, which is a quote by Winston and Marshall. Barkas and Holly and Waller both discuss the common issue of some teachers assuming that students are old enough to know how to organise themselves properly despite developmental and learning differences, which is one of the issues I discussed with my cooperating teacher. So going forward as teachers, so understand the transition, so make it aware to your students that some people find transitioning in secondary school hard and it may take a while to settle in into the new environment. Understanding the organisation needs, so identify organisational challenges faced by 1st-year students, such as bringing all their books to class, the importance of structure, routines and time management in secondary school environment as it's completely new to them. Organisation strategies for students, time management techniques such as setting schedules, prioritising tasks and avoiding procrastinations will all help with their organisation skills. Managing assignments, deadlines, so strategies for keeping track of assignments, projects and deadlines which can be recorded in their school diaries which are given at the start of each school year. Setting up a study place at home, which is important to dedicate a study area in the home that provides minimal distraction so they can get their work done, and to encourage students to ask for help when needed and just be able to approach the teacher when needed.
So I don't mind on the importance of building relationships with 1st-year students. So giving off a friendly, open, approachable image to students who may then be more comfortable confiding in a teacher about personal, family or class issues. That's a quote from Ashley 2019. So it'll encourage students to engage with other students, also with activities in the classroom. Just from my own experience, when I was in 4th year placement, I had a 1st-year Ukrainian girl who didn't talk to many other students in the school, but always engaged in my engineering lessons and would come to me to talk at lunch if her friend was absent. So the importance of keeping relationships professional with first year students. Students can become too comfortable with the relationship and see the teacher as a friend. It is important to keep a teacher-student relationship professional, and all conversations must stay professional. When I was in fourth year placement, some students tried to communicate outside of school hours or thought they would be left off with breaking rules and health and safety rules.
So when I was on my placement, I found there was many different levels of student abilities in the class. So I was trying to teach and prepare lessons to teach the mid-range students in the class. So having questions prepared so all the class can answer and so they can all be involved. So the use of differentiation, higher and lower order questions. Also on placement, I found that first years when they come in, they're all from different primary schools and all have different levels and abilities. So this is another reason why we try to teach the mid-range when teaching the first years in the first few weeks. From research, I found that there's always different ways to differentiate, several ways. For example, providing students with different tasks at different levels. So you could have, for one student, you could have like a simple task for a lower order student, and for a higher order student, have something challenging for them. And Bush C says that in differentiating in classroom, the teacher productively plans and carries out varied approaches to content, process and production, and anticipates of responses to students' and differences and readiness, interests, and learning needs. Here are some of the examples that I use in the classroom when on placement to incorporate students. So if I had hand out worksheets or questions to students, I have 5 questions on the worksheet. 4 out of the 4 of them, a lot of students will be able to answer them. So this will give the lower order students a good a lot of confidence so they can progress in the topic, and then have one tricky and challenging question for the higher order students. Also planning classroom discussions was very important. So all the students were involved. So again, having lower order questions and higher order questions. So everyone was involved in the classroom, so they all felt comfortable speaking out. And I also found when teaching the mid-range students, I use a lot of visual aids and hands-on activities. So the students were getting to know each other through activities, and they were learning through visual aids, as first year students aren't used to taking down notes and information and processing it.